They don't have a number 10. Brazil doesn't have a true number 10, a creative player. They don't have it. They don't have a number 9, an actual number 9 goal scorer in Brazil. Brazil. We're not talking about Venezuela. Venezuela has one in Salomón Rondón. Brazil doesn't have one.
And while I have sat here and been very critical of Neymar and how at times I think he hogs the limelight for Brazil and maybe takes away from the others, it just seems as though that this Brazil is in desperate need of that kind of a personality, that kind of a talent.
Fala, apaixonados por futebol, bem-vindos ao canal. Mesmo com a vitória do Brasil contra o Equador, a seleção não convenceu nem os torcedores e muito menos a imprensa internacional, que continua batendo forte nos jogadores e inclusive já está assumindo que precisamos da volta do Neymar. Vamos conferir, deixe a opinião de vocês aí nos comentários, já se inscrevam no canal e bora!
Remember, on top of the bad Copa America they had, Brazil had lost their last 3 World Cup qualifiers in a row, an unprecedented streak for Brazil. Now you see them up into that top 4 with 10 points through 7 games played. Ale, they did manage to snap the losing streak, but just how did Brazil get the 3 points here?
I think Casey, I imagine, would feel the same way, but Shaq and I haven't had pre-game meals for many years, and whether it was club or national team. One of the staples of a pre-game meal at the professional level was rubbery, bland chicken. Brazil, right now, they are rubbery, bland chicken. There is no flavor to this team. There is nothing to Brazil, nothing to say, look how dynamic, look how explosive, look how creative, look at them passing the ball around. Nope, none of that. And it's not coming. Because when you look around and you think about creative players out of the midfield from Brazil, they're not there. They're simply not there. And so what ended up happening in this game was Brazil, towards the end of the match, pretty much hanging on, deep behind the ball. And if indeed they want possession back, they're hoping to play the ball over the top. Hey, Vinny, go and do something. Hey, Rodrigo, go and do something. And that's it. There is nothing special. There is nothing exciting. There is nothing to be optimistic about with this Brazil national team. And while I'll sit here and say, look, they're going to make the World Cup, that's not an issue here. It's when you think and project what this team can be, it isn't going to be much better than what we saw against Ecuador. It's not like, hey, we're in an upward trajectory here. It was important to get the 3-point, and now we move on and we really lean on this talent that we have on this team so that they can take us to the next level and so that we think of Brazil in the 2026 World Cup as a potential winner. No. Here I am saying Brazil does not have enough talent to compete at the highest level. They have enough to barely beat Ecuador at home. And when I say barely, I mean barely. There wasn't anything about this Brazilian performance that would keep you awake. Truth be told, if it were my job and my responsibility to watch this game, I would have gone to bed. That's how bad it was. Bland chicken.
I totally agree. And while I said when the Rodrigo goal came at a time that maybe Brazil were dominating, the second half was very even. Brazil against Ecuador, it was very even. And as I looked at this Brazil team, and maybe part reflecting on a discussion we had on Extra Time yesterday talking about Socrates and his inability to win at the highest level. You compare this Brazil to that Brazil of the 80s, and it just feels so underwhelming. But then you look at the personalities. Paqueta as an example. Plays for one of my former clubs in West Ham. Wanted by Manchester City for his creativity. He is such a spark for West Ham. There was nothing on display in yesterday's game from Paqueta in terms of that creativity. It seemed as though it was, we need to rely on Vinicius Jr. for our spark. And Vinny wasn't there for that. And while I have sat here and been very critical of Neymar and how at times I think he hogs the limelight for Brazil and maybe takes away from the others, it just seems as though that this Brazil is in desperate need of that kind of a personality, that kind of a talent. And it reminds me of an Argentina when they weren't winning things, how their only focus was getting the ball to Lionel Messi and standing back. The difference is neither Vinicius Jr. nor Neymar are Lionel Messi. The supporting cast of Brazil right now is nowhere near as good as the supporting cast of Argentina, has been for quite some time. So all in all, the pieces for this Brazil just feels like it is built to underwhelm. It's built to disappoint when you know how good Brazil is associated with being.
They have a bunch of good players, not great. And for years, Brazil was the standard for great players. Brazil doesn't have really a right back that you think is going to break other teams down. It's Danilo, on whatever is left of Danilo. Left back is a problem. They don't have a number 10. Brazil doesn't have a true number 10, a creative player. They don't have it. They don't have a number 9, an actual number 9 goal scorer in Brazil. Brazil. We're not talking about Venezuela. Venezuela has one in Salomón Rondón. Brazil doesn't have one. Brazil doesn't have a proven number 9 at the international level. They don't. And they haven't for a while. If you go back to the 2014 World Cup, we're talking about a decade ago, Fregi was the starting forward for Brazil in that team. And that's where we are with Brazil. And so we would have thought that by now that would have turned around and you would see the trajectory of players in Brazil come down the pipeline and you're thinking, okay, now is the new generation. This new generation is not here. It hasn't happened yet. And it's not just one position, it's multiple positions on the field. That's why they're having the issues that they're having and trying to get results with any sort of consistency.